Are you ready? Get ready. Your host, your internet sensation, your propaganda destroyer, your world and Bible truth detective, the one, the only, Jim Howie Mandel Jr. will be live in studio on Blog Talk Radio. Your host, Jim Howie Mandel Jr. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, the one and only Jim Howie Mandel Jr. This is the Howie Unveils God's Shield radio show. We're going to jump right over. It is an honor and a privilege to bring to you a true patriot, a true American warrior, a man of honor, character. You know, there's certain characteristics in patriots. You see them always professing an excellence in America. You see them always speaking highly of the Constitution. There's no double talk. You see them always speaking highly of the Founding Fathers. There's no deceptive speech. It's all upfront American exceptionalism, proud to be an American, prideful, not arrogant, not cocky, but strong, understanding what this nation is all about. And I bring to you here one of those individuals, a man of conviction, a man of professed faith, a man of valor, military service, political service, and now moving into his private life, moving into dynamic television. He is now taking up nextgeneration.tv, so I urge you to take a look at that and follow Mr. Colonel Allen West in his private life as well. So let me bring him here to you. Colonel West, sir.
Hey, Howie, how you doing?
I am doing well, sir, and I thank you so much. As I said while we were in silence communication there, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day.
Well, it's no problem. You know, I had a good conversation with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and you know, trying to solve some things as far as our debt and the whole Snowden thing, and you know.
I figured I would have diverted you that way. So I thank you so much.
It rang right to his.
I'm sure it did. Yeah. People didn't realize I was that connected. See, now you just added a little more credibility to me.
Boy, you are connected. Can you get Putin's number next?
Yeah, who can put you through to the Chinese president and also speak to an American patriot? I mean, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good, boy. It's a great Thursday.
Yes, it is. I thank you for your time. Now, I know your name is Allen West, but can you be called Al? I mean, are you sure that? I mean, because Uncle Tom, Uncle Thomas, Al, and Al. Are you aware that we can? Are you aware we can break names down?
Well, we can break names down. Now, I mean, if you call me Al, it reminds me of, one of my most favorite Als, and that's Al Bundy from Married with Children. So.
Yes. I want to start the show off with that, though, in regards to the Minnesota Representative Ryan Winkler, who called Clarence Thomas Uncle Thomas, and then actually said, I didn't know that was racial. I didn't know that's what that meant. I didn't know that was part of Uncle Tom. How did they get away with that, Colonel?
Well, it's very simple, and I put out a Twitter and Facebook response to it. The white liberal progressives feel that it's open season on black conservatives. They can say anything that they want. They can plead ignorance and what have you. But then, of course, you have so many of the black liberal or black Democrat establishment that are complicit. They're allies in allowing them to do such a thing. So when you think about the incredible hypocrisy of what is going on with Paula Dean, who, came clean in a deposition about something she said 20-some-odd years ago, and then you have this state representative, state senator up in Minnesota, Ryan Winkler, that refers to, Justice Clarence Thomas as Uncle Thomas, and then insults people by coming back and saying, well, I didn't know that this was a racial slur. Well, unless this guy just dropped on the planet Earth the day before, then he's just a liar. And he knows that he's a liar. But, it's this hypocrisy that you have. I mean, they can call a person like me an Oreo, a sellout, and various other, nasty names. They had the cartoons of Condoleezza Rice that had her, I don't know nothing about birthing tubes, and it's okay. So, I am sick of it. I'm tired of it, and that's why I said in my post that he needs to resign, just the same as everyone is going after Paula Deen. This guy needs to resign. And guess what? You haven't heard a peep out of the NAACP.
Nothing. It is definitely hypocrisy, without a doubt.
It's terrible.
I know you're busy. I know our time is a little limited here, so I don't want to go into specific details into each situation, each scandal. Mm-hmm. But as someone who was involved in the political arena, as someone who was involved in the military arena, now coming out as a citizen under the same garbage and junk that everyday citizen is under, what is your overall perspective on these scandals?
Well, it is neat in the fact that, I am with PJ Media and Next Generation TV, and our office and studio is here in Washington, D.C., and, I look out and I see Union Station, and, of course, I can walk out the building and see the Capitol. There's a level of distrust and disconnect between the federal government and the American people that I don't know, I have not seen in the 52 years I've been walking on this earth. And it all comes back to the incredible amount of corruption, the culture of intimidation, and everyone keeps, saying, well, the president doesn't have anything to do with it. It's, minions out in Cincinnati, whatever. That's not the case. In the United States military, and you served as a Navy search and rescue guy, thank you for your service, we had this thing called command climate. And the commander was responsible for the actions of this unit. If the unit was failing, people didn't go down and go to the individual sailor or the individual private. They first went to the commander and say, let's talk about, how you're running this organization. Let's talk about your policies and procedures. Let's talk about, your means by which you're training and leading and managing this organization. No one is doing that here in Washington, D.C. Eric Holder's not responsible for anything. The president's not responsible. No one in the IRS is responsible. As a matter of fact, the IRS people, they just plead the fifth and they walk away and get a taxpayer-paid vacation. No one's responsible at Homeland Security. No one's responsible at the State Department. No one is responsible at Health and Human Services. The American people have had enough of that. And they just continue to see this with the 24-hour news cycle. You can't hide all of this stuff. And then we come to find out today that one of the most radical, Egyptian clerics is over having a meeting in the White House with national security members of the Obama administration. Now, this meeting was on, June the 13th. He publicized the meeting. The White House invited him to come. He wasn't begging. And the next thing you know, we're talking about arming and supporting the rebels in Syria, which was his intent. So all of these things are coming out, and then, of course, where is the president, the leader, the chief executive officer of this country? He's over in Africa, spending up $60 to $100 million of American taxpayer money at a time when we really, quote, unquote, can't afford to do that. So that is what's happening in our country. That is what's happening coming out of this little 10-square-mile area called Washington, D.C. It has gotten too big, too onerous. And the interesting thing, Howie, next week, we're going to be celebrating, 4th of July. And if you read the Declaration of Independence, you will see a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities in the document that Thomas Jefferson wrote to where we are today.
Yes, sir. You are truly stating fact there. In regards to the connections with Obama and all these scandals, I'm sure you're aware of his half-brother, Malik Obama, having ties to the Sudan government, which is a terrorist state by our own level of what we consider a terrorist state since the early 90s. I believe they've been on the list.
Yeah, they've been murdering Christians and,
How does that not envelope the president into a major security breach, almost treasonous, impeachable? I mean, his half-brother has direct links and is part of a Dawa organization out of Sudan.
Well, you know what, the other side, you always have to look at how would the other side come back and retort what you're saying. They say, hey, look, is this half-brother, He doesn't have anything to do with that. That guy's over there, far across the sea. What I'm talking about that just happened, this month, the 13th of June, is that you just brought in a radical cleric into the White House to sit down with, key national security advisors in your administration to talk about how he's going to effectively change our foreign policy. And that is what's happening now, talking about arming rebels, which we know the rebels are nothing more than al-Qaeda-backed, Saudi Arabia, Qatar-backed, radical Islamists. As a matter of fact, they just attacked a Christian village in Syria. So I think that's where we start because, they're going to just disavow any connection to what the president's half-brother is doing or saying. But we're talking about things that's happening right here in the United States of America. Look, nothing is going right in our country. People are concerned about the Affordable Care Act, which we're getting close to it really kicking in, going into the next fiscal year, and, of course, on the 1st of January. Nothing is going right as far as our debt and deficit. We just had our first quarter GDP numbers downgraded from 2.4% to 1.8%. We're not even limping along anymore. We have a monetary policy that is failing, and, of course, if Ben Bernanke says he's going to stop printing money to the tune of $85 billion per month, look at what happened with the markets. They just, it was almost a 500-600 point drop in 2 days. So the only thing that's keeping this economy propped up is artificially printing more money. So you look at economic policy, you look at the president's speech, now all of a sudden he's going to destroy the coal industry. Think about what that's going to do for, electricity prices, especially for middle to lower income people all across this great country. And then national security policy of this administration is horrible. That's where we should be going after the president. That's where we should be trying to make him accountable. That's where we should have, House and Senate Republicans and really even Democrats stand up and say that this is not happening. And now you got an illegal immigration piece of legislation that will fundamentally change the United States of America, and it will tip the scales for national level elections for years to come if they get their way.
It is amazing. It truly is amazing to hear you say all this fact that the mainstream media does not put forth. I think some of these drum beats should be louder than what they are when it comes to the mainstream. And I know in Next Generation TV and your private life here moving forward, I know you're trying to be a sounding board for all that. In regards to Obama and his foreign policy, the Muslim Brotherhood, we know, encapsulates a lot of the organizations that operate here freely in America.
Sure.
We know that. We know that the Obama administration has deep ties to some heavily influenced Muslim Brotherhood leaders. Mohammed Morsi of Egypt is an ex-Muslim Brotherhood president, now the president of Egypt.
He still is connected to the
right. Yes. Oh, no, he's definitely still connected. How does our foreign policy leadership, aside from Obama, the actual generals and the makeup of all the national security agency, how do they allow us to ship arms and weapons to Egypt, to the Syrian rebels, to Libya? How does this get past the structured setup for military machinery going to the enemy? We know they're the enemy.
Well, look, there are many people that ask, what was Ambassador Stevens doing in Benghazi right now?